In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to find certain trig ratios using a point on the Cartesian plane. So reading the first example here, it says find the exact values of cosecant theta, secant theta, and cotan theta for an angle theta terminating at point 3, 7. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find that point and sketch it. So 3, 7, we have 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go up 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my point is going to be approximately right there. Okay. Next thing you want to do, because we want to find the trig ratios, we want to create a right angled triangle using this point. So here's the point. The terminal arm going through that point is going to be just like that. Creating a right angled triangle, we're going to use that point, and there's our right angled triangle. Okay, so let's label the sides that we know. 3, x. Remember, that's our x and y coordinates. So my 3 represents the x length, and my y represents my my height. So this is going to be 7. Okay, so let's go through all the ratios that we want here. We want cosecant of theta, where theta is represented by that angle right there. Cosecant theta from my last lesson is going to be equal to your r value over your y value. In other words, it's going to be the reciprocal of your sine ratio. So we need to know what our r value is first. Okay, so let's find the r value. We know 2 side lengths of this right angle triangle. So let's go ahead and find r using our Pythagorean theorem. So r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. R squared we don't know. X squared is 3. Okay, plus y squared, which is 7. Okay, so we have 9 plus 49. Okay, and our r squared is going to be, as a result, 58. And we're not done yet. We still need to find the r value. So you're going to take the square root of both sides, and we're going to get r is equal to the square root of 58. Now, don't use any decimal approximations right now because the question wants your exact values. So we're going to leave everything as a radical wherever it shows up. So our r value is equal to the square root of 58, so you can plug that into that formula. Our y value is going to be positive 7. So there is our first ratio. The square root of 58 over 7 is equal to my cosecant ratio. Next thing we're going to find is the secant ratio. And using the formulas that I gave you from the last lesson, secant theta is equal to r over x. And our r value is still the square root of 58, but our x value, it's different. It's positive 3. Okay, let's keep going here. Cotangent of theta is equal to your x over y ratio. Okay, so our x is equal to positive 3, and our y is equal to 7. So there are my 3 ratios, and as a result, my 3 answers. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at another question here. It says, find the exact values of sine theta, cosine theta, and tan theta. Okay, so this time we're going to find the primary trig ratios for an angle theta terminating in point -2, 5. So like in the last example, the first thing you want to do is plot that point and find out which quadrant does it terminate in. So we're going in the negative direction, -2, and we're going to go 5 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our point is going to be approximately right there. So P, comma, -2, or -2, 5. Okay, so using that point, we're going to create a right angle triangle. So here's my terminal arm. Okay, terminating in quadrant 2, and here is my right angle triangle. Okay, so remember, my point is x, y. So my x side is going to be -2, and on my y side is going to be positive 5. Okay, so let's go back to each of these ratios. My sine theta, using the formulas I reviewed in my last lesson, sine theta is equal to y over r. Okay, our y value, we know it's going to be 5, but we don't know what the radius is, or our hypotenuse in this case. So we need to find that r value first. And we're going to use, once again, r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. And r squared stays the same. X value is -2 squared plus y, which is 5. Okay, and as a result, we're going to get 4 plus 25, and r squared is going to be 29, and because we want to leave everything in exact values, r is going to be the square root of 29. Okay, so once we have that, we could plug it into our signed ratio. So on the bottom, we're going to have 29. Okay, all right, so let's keep going here. Cos of theta is equal to x over r this time. Our x value is -2, and our r value is going to be the square root of 29. Okay, and finally, we have our tan ratio, which is equal to x over, well, sorry about that, should be y over x. Okay, our y value is 5, and our x value is -2. Okay, also notice that your cosine and your tangent ratio are both negative, and then the reason comes from your CAST rule, or your add sugar to coffee rule. So remember, this was add sugar to coffee, TC. And what did that mean? Well, it meant your A meant all your ratios are going to be positive in that quadrant. In this quadrant, quadrant 2, only your sine is positive. In the third quadrant, your t is positive, so your tangent ratio. And finally, your cosine ratio is positive in quadrant 4. So if we're taking a look at the second quadrant, the only thing that should be positive is your sine ratio, which checks out in our answer. Everything else should be negative. So that checks out with the two other answers that we got. So that is it for finding trig ratios given a point on the Cartesian plane.